Welcome back to Classical Solutions at Uplift Equine. Now today we're going to be talking about how to prepare for the Piaffe. I wanted to put in some of these preparation exercises or preparation episodes to kind of give the basics a little bit more context. Because I know sometimes it can be hard when you're beginning or in your intermediate and they're like basics, basics, basics. And you're like, well, what basics are for what thing? Because I don't have any context. So if you don't have the context of what you're preparing for and your instructor isn't telling you what the context is, it's really hard to stay focused and it's really hard to kind of have a light at the end of the tunnel if you're not really sure what the light's supposed to be looking like. So the preparation for the Piaffe is of utmost importance. And you can start the preparation stages as early as 2 years old. Now, you're not going to get a Piaffe at 2 years old, but you can start with these early stages. We'll get into that a little bit later, but right now I want to talk about, like, what is the Piaffe? I mean, if you're not familiar with dressage, you don't even know what this word means. So let's get into my little slideshow. So the preparation for the Piaffe. What is Piaffe? According to the FEI, a Piaffe is a dressage movement that is a light, cadenced trot in pace, or nearly so. It is characterized by the following. Rhythm. The Piaffe should be regular and steady. Engagement. The horse should be engaged, lowered a little bit behind and raised in front. So the hind end is the part of the animal that is taking most of the weight. Appearance. The Piaffe should look effortless and straight. What they mean by straight is not only straight up and down, but straight side to side. So the horse shouldn't be drifting one way or the other, and the horse shouldn't be leaning one way or the other. When you see the front end of a horse kind of weaving in and out, going side to side, even a little bit, that's called a balance. It's kind of more, that term is used more in ballet, but the horse is balancing. It means the horse is not taking weight behind and it is having trouble carrying the weight in front. And it is, since the thoracic sling is lowered and the horse is having trouble taking all of that weight in front and is not using the hind leg, a balance tends to happen when a horse is trained to be a, quote, leg mover, not carry its rider properly, and then made to do Piaffe when it is not physically ready. Movement. The horse's legs move in diagonal pairs, such as in a trot, with each pair leaving and returning to the ground alternatively. So that means the cadence and the movement is as if the horse is in a trot type pace. Suspension. There should be a short moment of suspension between the alternating diagonal pairs of legs. So that means the horse should not be stepping in first of all, the horse should not have a rhythm outside of a trot pace. So if the horse looks like it's kind of like 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's kind of like got this like 3-beat or 4-beat Piaffe, it's not a Piaffe. Suspension, and this is ideally, suspension means that the horse is leaping. Like the horse is actually, when two legs come up and the other two are coming down, there is a moment of suspension. You don't see that a lot in today's Piaffes, but that's part of the definition of the Piaffe. Balance. The horse should show balance and well-flexed joints while remaining relaxed. So part of the more advanced Piaffe, which a less advanced Piaffe should look like the horse is more or less bringing up each pairs of legs. Doesn't matter how high they go, as long as they're in that Piaffe looking pace and they have the rhythm and suspension. That's a beginning Piaffe. Now, an advanced Piaffe, where a horse that has been doing this for years and is athletic and has been developed enough to be able to do this, the joints should be well flexed. That means the hip and the stifle and the hock and the fetlock and the joints below the fetlock, and then the elbow and the knee and the front fetlocks and the joints below that front fet, they should be coming up. They should be well flexed and well engaged. So when does the Piaffe show up? So where do we see it happening? The Piaffe is introduced in the FEI Intermediate Test 2. The Piaffe is introduced in the FEI Intermediate 2 test. It is a combination of movement with the passage, and transitions between the two are marked separately. So the Piaffe and passage are two different things. They are marked separately. The Piaffe happens during the haute école stage of classical training. So with classical training, you have like the training stage, then you have the campaign stage where most horses in the military ended up, and then you have the haute école. So that's the high school. So the more important people that had the more trained horses, and then they showed those horses off to the royalty and to everybody that was in charge to show off, this is the pinnacle of our training program, even though most horses don't make it through this. That is where the Piaffe starts, is the haute école, well, the finished Piaffe ends up. So how do I go from just trotting around to a Piaffe? Let me get you there. And remember, this video is not a how to Piaffe. This is why the preparation stages for the Piaffe are important. So first, you need to learn how to lead your horse forward with energy. Halt, walk, trot. Halt, walk, trot. And trot to halt transitions. So all of this, halt, walk, trot to trot, and trot to halt transitions, all of these must be taught with a halter or a rope halter, and the horse must stay next to you during these transitions. So you're on the ground, the horse is on the ground, you're leading. This is the stage that I say that it is safe for a 2-year-old to start. Now a yearling who is just starting to kind of understand how to follow you, that's something that you want to teach them during their yearling time. So I don't like starting anything with a foal until mom has finished her training with them, basically. So if I were to breed, and I had a nice mare and I wanted to breed them, and the foal has been born, I will not do much of anything with the foal. I will just take care of mom and let the foal tag along. So because the foal, when it's nursing, isn't really going to go too far. So I don't even want to put a halter or anything on the foal's face. If I need to maneuver the foal around, I will maneuver the foal around with their rib cage. It's generally easy to do that as they're small and not quite balanced. But I let mom do the training of the foal because the foal needs to learn how to be a horse. So I don't really do anything except for, you know, getting mom okay with me handling foal and foal okay with me handling it, and picking up hooves. And then if I'm going to trim the hooves, I will trim the hooves free with mom right there, and it will generally be after I already trimmed mom's hooves. So mom's hooves, anything that happens with mom and baby, mom will always come first so that baby can see it happening on mom. But anyway, yearling, once the horse has been weaned, generally about 10 months, that is when halter training starts, in my opinion. That's when I put a halter on, and between 10 months and 2 years, you will want to be teaching the absolute foundations. So I don't generally do walk, halt transitions on the ground with them until they are 2 years old. So this can be started at 2 years old. So this step, start 2 years old. And in fact, I started this with my 2-year-old. You know, he's currently 5, but he was a 2-year-old at one point. So establish the close lunge leading position and practice the above. You can also start this at 2 years old. So once the horse is comfortable with following you during all of these transitions, Then you can move to the more lunge position. So a longer line, you're standing more at the horse's shoulder, but you're not as far away from them as if you're going to lunge them, but you are there. And this is assuming that you have gone through all of your foundational training, so you have already introduced the whip, and when you ask them to walk forward, so walk on, or whatever word you're going to use, they understand to go forward on. Alright, so learn how to perform a school halt. This will be in the training videos later, but a school halt is essential with the training program that I use. I do not like using rein back. A lot of people do that. You see a lot of people doing that because there's like a ton of ways to teach a horse how to piaffe. And they range from humane and inhumane. I'm not saying that every single way of doing it except for mine is inhumane. That's not what I'm saying, but what I'm trying to say is this is how I do it, this is how I have seen success, and what I have noticed about horses that are trained to do piaffe out of the rein back is that they tend to be pretty short in front. So they will take some weight, but you'll have this kind of V thing looking. So they start taking weight back here, but they're thinking backwards. So their brain is thinking backwards, so their front legs start coming back. So you've got this kind of V goat on the mountaintop look. And that's not a look that I like. So I don't use it. So learning how to perform a school halt is also of utmost importance, which is also in the fundamentals training that's going to be posted somewhat soon. So yielding to the school halt and using the school halt transitions in and out is extremely important because that teaches the horse to take weight behind. And as you do this piaffe training, it actually improves quite a lot of things, and that's why I encourage people to start it early. Even before the horse has even started riding. Like, my horse isn't even done riding in, and you'll see here that we are already doing the piaffe prep. Because with this preparation, it teaches the horse to take more and more weight behind, so that when you are doing something like teaching them how to trot with you on them, the horse already knows, well, it's easier for me to carry things with my hind end engaged. So this all goes into self-carriage, and this is why I encourage to train self-carriage while you're on the ground before you really start riding, because if you don't, which traditionally, if you're in the USDF, USCF training programs, they will teach you how to just do three solid gaits, walk, trot, canter, and then you get on there, and then you do intro, training, and first level, like that. And then they're like, at second level, they come and say, now we teach self-carriage. I think that is completely asinine and backwards thinking, in my opinion. Because that gets you so stuck. It gets so many people so stuck for years and years and years, and some people even quit at that time. Because the horse has become so habituated to carrying itself and its rider for such a long time in a certain way, that when you're trying to finally teach them self-carriage, that those self-carriage insistences and lessons continue on to Pre-St. George. I've seen some people, like, in Pre-St. George, they're like, yeah, I need to teach my horse self-carriage. And I'm like, my horse has learned self-carriage from the beginning, and the minute I got on, the horse started collecting, because he already knew from the time that I sat on him that it was easier for him to carry me if he was engaging his hind end. So I'll get off my soapbox now. But yes, this is why these things are so important. But I digress. Let's move on. Practice school halt, walk, school halt transition sets. So you decide a set. Once the horse knows how to school halt, and if you're going to use rewards-based training, which is something that I highly encourage you to do, have the high-value treat or high-value thing that you do. Use breaks as a separate thing, so you have to have sets. So once you've got the walk, halt, treat, walk, halt, treat, walk, halt, walk, halt, treat at the end. Usually I use like the short end of the arena, so once the horse reaches that short end, they're like, okay, now did I do it right? Sometimes I won't reward. I will give them a break to kind of think about what's going on, but sometimes I won't reward if it's not good enough. I'll say good, but not good boy or not good enough for a treat. The horse, after, if they have been habituated to rewards-based training, they understand, because I have many levels of reward. I'll say yes, or thank you, or good, but my horse knows that the treat's not coming until I say good boy. Or if you have a female horse, good girl. You can use this in any language or any way that you want. I just use these words because these words are what comes to mind as immediately. Clicker training also uses this type of thing. I tend not to like clicker training with horses because you're in the arena, if you're around other trainers and you're clicking all the time, it tends to be very annoying to people. Clicker training is very good for something like birds, which I have been, cross-trained studying with bird training. And my sister has seen success clicker training cats. But with horses, I find that the voice is much more soothing, and as long as you are on it, which you'd have to be on it with clicker training also. And I also find that clicker training tends to be a little bit odd when you are training horses because you have a whip and the horse in each hand, and you can't, there's just too much to juggle. So voice rewards is something that I have seen much success with. But once you have success with those behaviors, then you want to go into the middle stage, like good, 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 yes, 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 and then good boy. But do that in sets. So walk, school halt, maybe twice or 3 times down the arena, and then reward. So they understand that it's a set. Or if they have an exceptional school halt or an exceptional transition, that's when you reward as well. Move on to school halt, trot transitions. My boy is not there. I would have started these a bit earlier, but he did. These types of transitions can be started at like 4 years old. I would wait because the horse is taking a lot of its own weight on its hocks. So I would wait until after 3 years old for this sort of thing, because school halt is teaching the horse to take a lot of weight on their back end. And even if you're not riding them, if you have hocks that are still in their growth stage, that can be very detrimental and can cause later issues such as arthritis or some kind of bone spur or something. So while the bone is still soft and growing, I don't like doing school halt or even halt trot transitions until after those hocks have been fused and finished up. But this is going to get them to take even more weight. So once you have good school halt and good walk transitions, this is the next step. You do this. Move back to walk, school halt transitions, but this is something new. Add some half halts when the horse comes out of the school halt and work this into a school walk. Now this is something that I've started with Revan because even though we're not so good at the school halt trot transitions, his brain can think through these collective school walk transitions. So since he is capable of doing walk, school halt, walk transitions, his school halt does need to get better. It's not a good quality yet, but he understands the concept of it. And he's not strong enough to get himself from a trot to a halt, school halt, and then launch himself back into a trot. He's not strong enough for that yet, but after I have tired him out a little bit with the school halt walk transitions, and his brain is kind of on me and his body is not as tense anymore because he gets a lot of nervous energy, especially when he's shedding in and out of season and he gets a little itchy, and the itchiness gives him nervous energy, and the itchiness is an Appaloosa thing. By the way, if you have any kind of solution to itchy skin on horses, and this is not like skin condition itchy skin, this is just in general itchy skin, please let me know. I've been trying to find a solution for years. I mean, not directly trying to find a solution, but I've been lightly trying to find a solution to this for years because it was a problem with my other Appaloosa, Delilah. She had itchy skin, but it seems to be even more of a problem with Revan, with his itchy skin, and it's just, it keys them up quite a bit. So if you were talking about trigger stacking, it's one of those triggers that Appaloosas tend to have. So like I see everybody else's horse and they're like, yeah, whatever. And he's just like going crazy trying to scratch on anything that he can see. So if you have any kind of solution for Appaloosa's itchy skin, please comment below on this and I will be eternally grateful. But anyway, the school walk is a more collected gait than a collected walk. But you have to move through a collected walk in order to get to the school walk. And a school walk and a school trot, in the current training methods that a lot of people use, tends to be mistaken for half steps. Or not necessarily mistaken, but be called half steps. And I've seen people call a school walk and a school trot half steps, even though they both have different cadences. A school trot has it looks like a Piaffe half step because the horse isn't lifting up as much. It's not a collected trot where the horse is lifting, and it's not a passage where the horse is lifting. It is a school trot where the horse is collecting and thinking through things. So that means the horse is not lifting their legs up as much. They're not meant to, but a lot of people call this half steps. And then the school walk is the same type of thing, except the horse is in a walk cadence. People also call this half steps, and this is what causes a Piaffe to look like a school walk, or the Piaffe to lose its trot cadence, because people use a school walk, mistake it for a Piaffe prep, use it then as a Piaffe prep, and then now their Piaffe looks like a school walk, which is not good. It's not a Piaffe then. But anyway, move up to the trot, school halt, trot transitions. So this is where things get really intense. And you want to do this during a time that the horse has a lot of energy. But when the horse goes into the trot, add some half halts like you did at the walk. When the horse comes out of the school halt, and work it into a trot or school trot or half steps. So, like I said before, the school trot is more collected than the collected trot. It's not expressive. It is not expressive. It is specifically to school the horse in collection. So like, what am I supposed to do with the angle of my legs during collection? Not how high should I step during this time. So you use that as a tool. So anything that's considered school is a tool to help the horse get somewhere else. So a school halt helps the horse learn how to bring itself back onto its haunches and collect. School trot, school walk does the same thing. School canter, same thing. It is meant to be a means to an end. So once your horse gets into those half steps, you work the school trot with the half halts. So we take away the school halt as much. You go into the school trot. So once the horse knows how to get from halt to school trot, then you just use the school trot and school halts to check yourself or to improve that movement. Once you get that, then you can work it into a Piaffe, and then once the horse knows what to do when it comes to on the spot something, on the spot trotting. So you've got your school trot, you finally got it on the spot, so it's kind of like a proto-Piaffe. So it's trotting, cadence, rhythm is fine, it's just now it doesn't have the exuberance and lift that it needs for a proper Piaffe. So that's where your school halt comes back in, and that's where your trot transitions come back in. So I don't have this on the slides, but that's where you go and start doing those transitions in and out. And in order to keep the exuberance, or develop the exuberance of a definitely like suspension level Piaffe, or develop a suspension level Piaffe, you want to transition them out of the Piaffe into a trot of some kind, an expressive trot forward, instead of just halting or walking out of it. I've noticed that the horses that walk out of the Piaffe during training or during groundwork tends to be a little bit lazier and kind of nonchalant about Piaffing in the first place. You can transition the horse to a halt when you are trying to work on something very specific with the Piaffe, like lifting the legs or bringing the horse's hind end under a little bit more, and then you just stop and reward right then. But if you are working on the exuberance of the Piaffe, you want to launch them back out of it. So that's how I'd prepare for the Piaffe, and that's how I would work on the Piaffe. But some problems that can happen, and I've already mentioned a few problems that can happen in the Piaffe, but a horse can become short in front and have no carry in the hind end. This is what happens when you don't use a school halt transition to Piaffe. And this is what happens when you use the reins to slow the horse into a Piaffe, if you know what I mean. So if the person is kicking and pulling at the same time, and they're like, well, it's a Piaffe is somewhere in between stop and go, so I need to alternate my stop and go until the horse finally Piaffes, and then that's what I got. Then I have a Piaffe after, stopping, starting so much. Or the horse is trained to Piaffe out of a reinback. So it's the stop, halt, reinback combination that they get. They eventually work the horse into Piaffe, but that tends to make the horse short in front. A horse can have little lift and a shuffling step. So you see this, I call it a proto-Piaffe, which, since it doesn't hit every mark of the definition of Piaffe, and a moment of suspension is part of the definition of Piaffe, some people stop there, and it ends up to be having a shuffling type step. The rider is constantly spurring or kicking. So this means that the horse does not quite understand where it's going to be placing its energy. So if you see a Piaffe happening and the rider is constantly pulling and kicking the horse at the same time, and you can see the rider's legs swing back and forth, and it's just spurring and spurring this horse, and the horse is like, I'm Piaffing. That is not a proper Piaffe, because part of dressage is making your aids invisible to the person that's watching. So that's part of the combo. So if the rider's constantly spurring or kicking, there's something wrong. That generally happens when the horse has been taught to Piaffe from the stop-go method. So it's like stop-go, stop-go. And if it doesn't frustrate the horse enough to just take off, and the horse does manage to Piaffe, which then they call that the talented horse, which is, in my opinion, the horse is just more tolerant than most other horses, then the rider has to continue to spur and kick, and the higher up the level it goes, the more Grand Prix it does, the more the rider feels like it has to do more spurring and more kicking and more spurring. And so that's why when you see competitions like the Olympics and you see a lot of kicking happening, this horse has been taught to do the stop-go method. And as you could probably figure out and put two and two together, I don't like that method, because that method tends to be very negative for the horse. The horse tends to have problems with the Piaffe, and it also has top line problems because of the stop-go method, since it doesn't actually teach the horse to take weight behind. All right. The horse is not carrying in the hind, and its back is dropped. So this can result from a lot of these methods. So if you teach the horse how to Piaffe from the ground using the lifting leg method. So I teach the horse how to lift each leg from the beginning. So the horse is lifting each leg as a rep. I do multiple reps of this. If you ever watch any of my ground work sessions, that's part of the reps that I do to kind of warm the horse up to doing things during that session. I do teach the horse to lift its legs, but if you teach the horse from standstill to lift its legs and then somehow like work them into a trot rhythm via lifting legs, unless the horse has been taught to lift legs and then bring the hind end in, the horse is just doing leg movements, and you're teaching the horse to just leg move instead of using its body correctly. So you're basically trick training this horse into doing something that looks like a Piaffe, and it's not a Piaffe. If at any point you cannot levade out of the Piaffe, it's not a Piaffe. It's a trick. So the rhythm is disjointed and is no longer to beat. I mentioned this earlier when people train the Piaffe out of, quote, half steps that they think are half steps, but it ends up really being a school walk. So this means that the horse is not learning the correct rhythm of the Piaffe. The horse is learning the rhythm of a school walk on the spot. And that means you've got the walk pace, or the walk rhythm in the Piaffe, which makes it it's not a Piaffe. So the next one is, overall, if the horse cannot levade out of the Piaffe, it is not a Piaffe. Because in haute école training, classical training, where this comes from, where this is invented from, this is actually not a pinnacle of training. The Piaffe is a type of school gait to move on to the airs above the ground. So the whole point of Piaffe is to collect the horse and work with energy, because you can collect the horse with a school halt and get them to levade, sure. But in order to get them to capriole or balatade or passade, a passade and a passade are different. Just as a disclaimer. Or a croupade, you need that energy. So you work the horse into a Piaffe, and then you get them to do an exuberant levade, and then this exuberant levade can move into a passade, which is up higher, and then they come down, and then you get them to Piaffe again, and then you work them into the Piaffe. They're collecting, then you can get them to levade, and then croupade, which is jump forward. So that's one of the first school jumps. And then you get them to kind of work into the Piaffe, work, and then jump straight up. That will turn into the balatade, which it's like a levade, croupade, and then you get them to leap even higher. It's a balatade. Once the horse is kind of horizontal again. And of course you teach the horse how to kick out. You can see that in Cadre Noir. They tend to make that their own. That's its own little thing. But like, you teach the horse to kick out from the ground, and then once you teach the horse to balatade and kick out, the horse leaps up in the balatade, and then you quickly crack the whip, and it's not hitting the horse, because this entire time you're habituating the horse to the sound of the whip as a cue, not something to be afraid of. So you crack the whip because the horse is now way too high for you to do anything because you don't want to be that close to that landing or else you're going to lose one of your feet. Trust me, I've been there. I didn't lose one of my feet, but I've been there and I don't want to be even close to that landing. So you crack a lunge whip, and generally a master behind you will be the one to crack the whip because they have the timing, because they're looking for the timing. I have not been that master yet, but the horse goes up into the balatade, and then you crack the whip, the horse kicks out, cabriole! So that's what the Piaffe is originally meant for, is to work the horse's energy and collect the horse's energy so much that it just bursts out to an air above the ground. So if you cannot get an air above the ground from your Piaffe, it's not a Piaffe. It's something else. It's a trick. So if you look at a Piaffe and it's in and it's downhill and it's stop, go, and there's no upward lift, it is a trick. And if you say that to just about 95% of the Grand Prix dressage community in the United States and overseas, they are going to hate you for life. So that's a warning. So take this information as you will. And sometimes, just like I have learned, in order to make friends, sometimes you have to shut up. So if you see me locally, if you see me locally and people are like, I'm Piaffing. Generally, as long as they are not like really being extremely cruel to their horses, I tend to keep my mouth shut. I know some of you might judge me negatively for that, but I also understand that if it is not my horse, and if it is not a client of my horse, then I have very little control, and I'm only going to be arguing with somebody, if I start the argument, arguing with somebody that doesn't care to change. Now, if they come and ask me about it, hey, how's my Piaffe? That means they have respected me enough to ask, and then I will give them my input on that. And maybe even free 10-minute coaching session on it anyway. But if you just see me walking around and all of these things are done, it's not because I'm not quiet because I approve of it. I am quiet because I have learned how to try to make friends by keeping my mouth shut sometimes. That may change in the future, but that's where I am right now at this moment in 2024. So, but thanks for watching. Please prepare your horse for the Piaffe. Even if you don't intend on Piaffing, it prepares your horse for self-carriage. Self-carriage, the thing that should be taught before you even ride. But we'll go into that in another video. Thank you, patrons, for supporting us in this endeavor of Uplift Equine. Nick Lewis, Margie, and Blake Brandon, you guys know who I'm talking about. If you want to support us in the fashion that these people are, please visit the link down below for the Patreon. And thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and please be kind to your horse.